Good morning and welcome to a brand new week on Ways Breakfast. Hashtag what are you saying? It's a great one to have you join us this morning with conversations that matter, stories that shape our society, and voices that drive impact. My name is Oluchi Omenka, and as always, I will be joined by my wonderful co-anchors, Idehe Goodness and of course, Ololade Akimboye. Together, we're here to guide you through thought-provoking discussions with warmth, wit, and a whole lot of honesty. And now, while many of us are just getting back into the whole week grind, there's a sector that never truly rests, and that's the healthcare sector. And this morning, we're diving into a conversation that affects both the professionals in scrubs and the patients they serve. The nurses' strike may be over, but the tension isn't. There's now a new wave of concerns about alleged victimization of nurses who participated in the protest. So we're asking what's really going on behind the hospital walls, and we're going to find that out today. So please stay with us. It's going to be engaging, enlightening, and definitely worth your time. If you're yet to subscribe to our YouTube channel, this is the time to subscribe. This is time to communicate with us via our YouTube platform and across all of our social media platforms, and we'll definitely relay with you as well. We'll take a short break now. When we come back, we're heading straight into the headline stories, and of course, you get to meet my co-anchors. Stay with us.
I describe myself as a polyhumanitarian, someone who believes politics should be rooted in love for country and empathy for its people. I'm thrilled to introduce to you Politics Uncensored, a show dedicated to tackling the political challenges that matter most to Nigerians. This is more than just a show. It's a space for honest, unfiltered conversations about the issues that shape our nation. From policy reforms to elections, leadership tussles to governance at all levels, and the overall political landscape in Nigeria. We will dive deep into how politics is impacting our everyday lives. So join me on this journey as we challenge the status quo, spark dialogue, and work together to build a brighter future for Nigeria. Let's make our voices heard and drive the change we deserve.
All right, welcome back, our valued viewers. You're still tuned into Ways Breakfast. Hashtag what are you saying this beautiful Monday morning? Of course, it's a cold morning, and a lot of people are trying to still ease into the new week. Let's get to meet my co-anchor, Goodness Idehe. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing today?
Well,
I can already guess the answer. You're feeling a bit, how would I put it now? It's been somehow getting to work this morning, but I'm glad to have you join us. How was your weekend?
My weekend was great. And yours?
What was the highlight of it? Just great. Great is a very generic answer.
Well,
says
for my
great.
weekend, I didn't really go out, so I attended a church program, and it was awesome.
Amazing. All right, so let's get into the papers this morning. I'd like you to lead us firstly with the Punch.
Oh, okay. So, starting with the Punch newspaper this morning, leads with 2027 tensions. APC kingmakers scramble to quell state uprising. I know this upcoming election, 2027, is going to be a very great one, where we'll have many gladiators. Let me use that word. So we don't know actually who is going to be the winner. Well, we just hope that the election will be really, really free and fair, as since we practice democracy in the country. And I'll also go with the other stories. I'm going to take one particular story that is attracting to me on the Punch newspaper. So down below, we have 220 oil blocks abandoned amid debt, a crude crisis. And also below the newspaper, we have striking doctors, cripple Lautech hospital operations. You know, I'm still wondering why our health sector in Nigeria, in our country, is still always, will I say, crippling or crawling, to the extent that we have most of our healthcare workers. This is not the first time they are going to strike. This is not the first time they've been clamoring for increments. They've been clamoring for people the government should get more workers because we have some hospitals, basically, some government hospitals where they are short-staffed. And this is healthcare sector where we need a lot of healthcare workers there. Every day, people need to go to the hospital, take it or leave it. That's just the truth. And so while we keep on having reoccurring situations where the healthcare workers are always clamoring to the government call, and government is not really giving them prioritization. Imagine, okay, for instance, few days ago, we had in our sporting team where we have the Super Falcons, they won the trophy, right? That's actually beautiful. What were they given? 100 billions.
100,000.
Sorry, $100,000 and a 3-bedroom apartment. And here we have our healthcare workers crying, lamenting for the government to heed to their needs. Actually, if the government should do all their desires, it's not really for their own benefit. It's for the citizens. And that's why we keep on having most of the government officials traveling out to receive good healthcare system. Where in this your own country, you can actually give them the best and provide equipment for them.
Honestly, this story cannot be overstretched beyond this. It's a major cry, and this Monday morning, it's good that we are opening up the things happening in the healthcare sector. You know, the healthcare sector is one that doesn't rest. While other sectors can have, you know, its high and low moment at different seasons, the healthcare sector runs on a 24/7 operation in that sense, and it's something that should be given utmost priority. I'm very glad that our conversation this morning is going to be revisiting, you know, the current situation in the nursing area, how that they called off the strike, and then there's been some alleged, what's it called now? Statement of victimization for the nurses. So it's good that we're going to open up this much more.
I think I need to read this part.
All right.
It says the doctor cited the failure of the hospital management and the state government to address their long-standing demands as the reason for the word industrial action. And on April 8th, the doctors suspended a month-long strike to give the hospital management and the state government time to meet their demands. Are they telling me that Nigerians don't have money? We have money. We have money in essence. In short, Nigeria is one of the, it's not one of, it is the richest country in Africa. We have some countries that we do send relief materials to. Nigeria as a whole can sponsor a country. That's just the truth. We have money that we can lavish everywhere. Why is it that we are not keen into the healthcare system? It's so, I don't know, our healthcare system is really, really crawling. Not even working. It's crawling. It's so sad that over time, we're not even supposed to be hearing that hospitals, healthcare workers are going on strike. How many countries, good countries, right, that had the peak, that we get to hear such news from them that the healthcare workers are always embarking on strike? How many? If we want to actually classify ourselves in that level of we saying our country is well good enough, we should first start with our healthcare system. Just like the saying goes, health is wealth. If you don't have good health, how do you want to do it?
Very true. Let's not drag that particular story a lot because it's going to evoke emotions of discontempt. And let's move to the Tribune newspaper. And this one is going to make you even more agitated because if you hear what I'm about to say, a particular industry is enjoying this kind of benefit that we expect the healthcare sector to, and that's the aviation industry. So there's some new updates there that I'd like to open up, but let's start with the major headlines that says expert question FEC approval of 712 billion naira for airport upgrade. Renovation wasteful, misplaced priority. This is from ADC. It's strategic investment in nation's aviation infrastructure from Keyamo. It says Lagos terminal rebuilding to be funded with subsidy removal gains. Above that, we see find a job to do ahead of 2027. APC tells El Rufai, your utterance is distracting Tinubu. By elections, SDP kicks against rejection of candidate, heads for court, says decision illegal and unconstitutional. Below that, on the 2027 story, says Tinubu's loyalists regroup and revive structures. IPI demands immediate reopening of short radio stations in Niger. NDLEA intercept cocaine. Tramadol consignment in vehicle side mirrors at Lagos Airport. On the health story, we see common sweeteners may be accelerating puberty in kids. Northern marginalization substantiates your allegations. MBF challenges ACF and Northern elite. And the last story here reads, my vow to serve one term is sacrosanct, and this is from Ubi. It says purposeful leadership doesn't require eternity to deliver. I think this Ubi's comment should firstly, it's been all over the headlines on Tribune, on Guardian, on Punch. There's a lot of clamoring of him wanting to just serve one term. And I think apart from just taking that statement from Obi himself, I don't think it's something we should just throw away to the corner, because honestly, purposeful leadership is not when you stay for so long.
Is Nigeria a place where you can be given that opportunity if you are not in the dominant party for you to serve?
I'm not even going to that point.
Okay.
I'm trying to latch on what he has said. Purposeful leadership, just one tenure. I think it's something that we should even have. I don't know how the whole double tenure stuff came about and why people felt it was relevant or important to have it in our political space. Maybe because it's practiced in other places, or that's how democracy is. But if we look at it critically, maybe we should start changing the status quo, how things work, and start having people just retain that one tenure stuff, so that let's see people who are more purposeful and more driven to do what you have to do in 4 years. Like, look at what's happening with this current administration. We've just done 2 years. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, right? About 2 years. And 2027 is already a major talk. There are ongoing pressing issues that we have not solved. We are not paying attention to, but we are distracted with another regime. Another 4 years to gain power, another 4 years to be at the forefront of the helms of our affairs. So it shows that, is it just a power tussle that people are after? If you're given 4 years to serve, that's a great privilege to do great. Many of the manifestos we read, oh, we'll do this, we'll do that, we'll do that. I think it was even President Bola Ahmed Tinubu that mentioned that if he doesn't do certain things in this current administration he'll be managing, that we should not vote him for 2027. Do you understand? So it's almost, there's a default for these people. When they come in, they're looking at an 8-year thing. There was even one, this was not even Nigeria, I think a particular president in one of the African countries, they've forgotten the particular African country. This person is very old. I think it was over 80 or so. He has ruled for like 2 terms and was thinking of coming back again. What exactly did you plan on achieving that you did not achieve when you were seated for 8 good years?
I will actually label that as chimera manifestos.
Okay, that's a new one. Chimera manifestos. We need to go and figure that out.
Because we have, the thing is, they say power intoxicates, right? Just like we are having Obi now, claiming that you just need 1 term.
That's very true.
The same thing. We can't tell.
Yeah.
We are humans. That's just it. We are not perfect. You might have a good intention at first. The will, the drive, the strong will that, oh yes, when I get to this position, I'm going to do this. I've seen the lapses of other governments. My dear, when you to get there, it's not a biscuit thing. Yes, ruling a big country, Nigeria is the biggest country in Africa. It is not easy because you have a lot of, you know, stoppages, blockages that you need to treat first. So you're clamoring, yes, it's good that you want at least 8 term, but you already knows the system that we actually not practicing the genuine system in the country.
Things are
so anybody that is coming in, even not even in the presidential position, in the governorship position, we have governors that want to run 2 terms.
The funny thing is that we have some of these people maybe not run 2 term in terms of like the governorship position or presidential. Some of them can be governors for a while, maybe 2 terms. Then they go back as ministers somewhere or go back into the Senate.
They always want
so it's a merry-go-rounding of...
They always want to find themselves still teeth
at the helms of affair. Well, let's just say
something.
That is allegedly now. But let me read this particular one that caught my interest, because you've been mentioning about how the healthcare sector is not giving priority based on funds and everything. This one now is very shocking. The Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development, Festus Keyamo, has justified the federal government's decision to commit 712 billion naira to the renovation of the Murtala Mohammed International Airport in Lagos, describing the project as a necessary overhaul to modernize the country's busiest airport and accommodate surging passengers traffic. Why I'm reading this story and emphasizing on the billion naira is because I want to just further prove what you have said, that our country actually has the money to run certain things. Look at this kind of allocation for the renovation of an airport. What exactly needs to be renovated in that airport? Is the airport not functional? Are there things that are really terrible and not working that needs urgent renovation? If that is not the case, then I think this is misplaced priority and this is misappropriation of funds. 712 billion naira is a lot of money to just pump into innovation, especially if the sector doesn't necessarily
when some sectors
need it.
are dilapidating.
Exactly. In education, in healthcare, in a number. So I'm even surprised that some of these people now even have the boldness to come out and tell us the amount of money that goes into the... Is it that they expect that Nigerians will applaud? Do they expect that people reading this to say, oh, there's something happening somewhere? This is even going to cost many other sectors that are not being given attention to what... Yes. Because, if you're telling me that 712 billion naira can go into the aviation sector to renovate an airport that is not crying for renovation, I think, that means you have the money to sponsor our own legit needs that are crying for attention. Do you understand what I'm saying? And it's quite disturbing. I don't know where this money will come from.
We look for fame, name, bigger structure. I think that's one of the things that this present government, even the past government, to say, some of them, it's like an agenda, their topmost priority on their list. And that's why I said we have chimera manifestos. You see all those things that they tell you before election.
I'm really interested in knowing what this chimera manifesto is. The first time I'm hearing it. What's
fake manifestos?
Fake,
yes, it's not genuine because it's never going to take effect. It's just a saying. Not a saying with action. That's just it.
Very true, but this is where we wrap up our headline reviews this morning. The stories have been quite interesting, fascinating, gory sometimes. And of course, we'd like to hear your comment on all of the things discussed. We'll take a short break now. When we return, we are heading straight to the hot topic for today. Strike over. Nurses warn against victimization. And that is what we're going to discuss this morning. So please stay with us. We'll be right back shortly.
Tell us you're a Nigerian without saying a word. Energy security is one of the most pressing issues for many developing countries like Nigeria. And if there's going to be any meaningful progress, addressing our energy issues is non-negotiable.
I need to see light from my house. Make them do something.
Band A is expensive. I literally have to turn off all my appliances just to reduce costs.
We need light.
Introducing the Energy Outlook, your go-to show for everything energy. Every week, we'll bring you the latest insights, innovation, and in-depth analysis of Nigeria's energy sector. From policy discussions to regulatory insights, we'll analyze the key decisions influencing growth and sustainability in the energy sector. We'll bring you the human stories behind the headlines, giving you a personal perspective on the broader energy challenges. Join me every Friday at 6 p.m. for the Energy Outlook, your guide to the future of energy, where energy means business.
Welcome back. Today we're focusing on a critical sector that literally holds life in its hands, and that's the healthcare, and more specifically the backbone of it are nurses. The recent strike by the National Association of Nigerian Nurses and Midwives has officially been called off. But while operations resume, another issue takes center stage, and that's on victimization. There are growing concerns among nurses across Lagos State that some employers and administrators may seek revenge on those who participated in the strike, ranging from silent punishment to outright transfers or even dismissal. So what does this say about labor rights and welfare in Nigeria's healthcare sector? What were the key wins or compromises from the strike? And how do we balance professional duty with the right to protest in such a very critical field? And joining us today to unpack this is Odumosu Olorutoba, the State Secretary of the National Association of Nigerian Nurses and Midwives, Lagos State Council. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, well, very happy to have you join us to discuss this matter that is very, very critical. The headline stories already showed how, will I say, annoyed, agitated we are with what's happening in the healthcare sector recently, and how it's not given, due concerns or importance or priority in that sense. So firstly, let's even go back to the whole strike aftermath and the resolution. What were the major issues? We want to hear from someone who is in the system. What were the major issues that led to this strike? And would you say that they've been fully addressed?
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here again. The major issues and the things that we listed out are our nine core demands from the government. And I think, as I also said on the last time I was on this show, that some of them are very old demands, which was part of the reason why it was very worrying that these things have been neglected for a very long time. Some of which border on the scheme of service for nurses, which essentially is to say uh, what roles and responsibility, how people come in and how they journey through the public service as public servants. One of it was to create a Department of Nursing at the Federal Ministry of Health, something that was already clearly captured by the IAPL Award of 1981 that was awarded to nurses when Nigeria formally, recognized nursing as a distinct profession that should not be subject to control by any other body. So it was worrisome that after, and when you look at what the criteria are for creation of departments and things like that, nobody meets that criteria more than nurses within the health sector because it says that you must have a substantial staff strength, and that's, clearly shows that nurses are constitute way more than 50% of the healthcare workforce in any healthcare setting. Issues of professional allowances, we've seen brain drain, and high and disturbing attrition. Of course, that continues to reflect in our poor health indices, maternal mortality rates, and the likes. And we've been asking that you need to regulate people properly so that we can at least begin to put some stop to some of the push factors. There are strong pull factors, stable economy, stable salary, better wage outside there. But while there are those pull factors, you should not then contribute by also adding push factors that would force people out of the system. So there are certain allowances that we had listed that needed to be reviewed. Also, the working condition and working environment. It's nurses need to work in a place that supports them to be able to carry out those interventions that people need. And these are some of the things: internship, consultancy, and the likes. Some of the issues that led to this particular industrial action by the association. And in the engagement we had with the government, they had taken a few actions and put timelines around certain ones. There's still a meeting that's been scheduled for Wednesday to continue discussion on some of the allowances and things that the association has requested for. So, and we're in essential care, so we don't, strike action is not something we take lightly. The association has been pushed to the wall for us to take this action. And I think we did emphasize on the strike action that we are not taking any action like this in the last 2 decades. It's not because we have not had burning issues, but as NAM, as a separate entity as NAM, we have not embarked on this strike action. And like I said, these issues have been for a very long time, which shows the kind of level of restraint that we put on ourselves, understanding how critical the role we play within the health sector and within the economy is. So, but in these circumstances, of course, we had been pushed and we had no other choice. It's interesting that, you spoke about the issue of invasion and all that. It's interesting to know that the entire capital vote for the health sector for year 2025 is not up to that
712
712 billion.
billion.
Yeah, the entire capital vote for the entire health sector, the 74 federal health institutions that the federal government has, the entire capital vote is not up to 712 billion for year 2025. And that's why we also try to emphasize that while we are dealing with some of the immediate issues, the foundational issues also remain. And we are also using the opportunity to advocate and call on government to be more serious about the health of Nigerians. That if you are budgeting 4.7% of your national budget to health, then you are bound to see the embarrassing health disease that we are seeing. It's just not possible. The declaration that recommended 15% for countries like us, I mean, understood what they were saying. And for us that we've had so much neglect within the health sector, and if you want to have the education sector too, because those are the people who also produce doctors, nurses, and the likes. So that if you had that neglect, you will be trying to shoot above the recommended percentage. But what we have seen is consistently a situation where less than 5% is budgeted for health in the country. So, and with that kind of situation, are you really going to? It's not a situation where uh, we cannot regulate people better, or we cannot structure the system better. I mean, look at how much over 70% of healthcare expenditure is still out of pocket, which shows like because there are issues of finance, there are also issues of structure. You must have a robust system that can ensure that people are not vulnerable when it comes to health. In Nigeria, no matter how, I mean, the middle class, you are just one funny cancer or kidney disease diagnosis away from GoFundMe. And that's the situation. If you think that you have some level of security, just one cancer that can wipe out all your years of social mobility, upward social mobility. And that shows you the precarious situation people are, not just for the vulnerable and ordinary Nigerians, but even for people who think that they are within some middle class trappings or earning brackets. So, and which shows that there's a lot that the government and the citizens must put pressure on the government to do going forward. We do not want to continue to see a repeat of these situations where we have to call industrial actions of this scale to get the government to listen to sometimes very elementary and simple demands that the association and the unions within the health sector place before them. I mean, during the project, you spoke about the Lautech situation again. So we don't want to see a situation where a place that should be running 24 hours non-stop is experiencing strike action after strike action, industrial action after industrial action because of neglect and because the government, unfortunately, like you mentioned, the elites, the ruling elites, do not really patronize our healthcare system, which is something of shame and concern. I mean, given the history of even COVID-19, I think that should, even in their own enlightened self-interest, teach you that you should prioritize your health care system within your own country, even for your own personal interests, let alone the interest of the other Nigerians. We do not have the luxury of taking uh, flights at any slightest health challenge. So, but that's where we are currently.
All right.
Okay, that brings me to my question, which I want to ask. Concerning the victimization, because I saw a particular line that speaks that the nurses, the midwives, even the interns should not be victimized. Have there been any situation that occurred that probably when they went on strike, some of the nurses or midwives were victimized? Or what is the context, the underlying message behind the word victimization?
Well, in situations like this, when we declare industrial action, the employer wants to also explore whatever means of coercion that they can. And some of them indeed tried, but our members remained resolute and followed the directive of the association to the letter. So, but because some of these people were being, coerced, they might have fear that maybe upon resumption, some people might want to, retaliate or anything like that. But for us within the union, it's injury to one, injury to all. You victimize one person, victimize everybody. And I think from the point of view of the union, we have no fear at all. Anybody who tries to victimize any of our members will have the full lot of the station to deal with, except you want to essentially victimize all nurses in the country, because this was a nationwide strike action. It was not directed at any particular individual or any institution. So I don't see it, but of course, for us, we also try to put those clauses there so that it's clear to to the various managements that these are the discussions that have been had with the federal government. The federal government never said the strike was illegal. We followed the dictates of the Trade Union Act, Trade Dispute Act, and we gave the right ultimatum. So everything followed the proper procedure. The federal government never called the strike an illegal strike action or anything like that. So nobody has any basis to decide to victimize someone for following the directive of their union in this instance. So I don't think we entertain that fear. And if anybody tries it, like I said, they will have the full road of the session to deal with.
Okay, I want to get something, honestly. So this whole strike action happened from the organization, right? The Association of Nurses in Nigeria. And is it just for nurses or the medical doctors themselves? Are they exempted from this particular strike? Or when you people go on your own strike, they focus on theirs? So because I'm asking that this victimization we're talking about, where is it going to even come from, if at all there will be one? Is it from the management or from the doctors in the hospital, or from, maybe not from the government, because governments are the ones trying to address the problem. So I'm trying to understand how aloof really the Association of Nurses really stand when it comes to strike actions like this. Do they stand alone, or do they get support from the management and, doctors association if there's something like that?
Yeah, of course. Within the EU, doctor, pharmacists, nurses, and I mean, when if the leadership of such groups does not see the fight of the other group we don't see the fight as a zero-sum game in which when I gain, you lose, then that forms a basis of solidarity. But in terms of operational circumstances, nurses are on strike. If your union is not on strike, then you cannot just join, except your union has directed you to join and declare a strike action. So when we were on strike, the doctors were there in the hospital. And if doctors go on strike, that does not mean that nurses will go on strike. Unfortunately, I mean, maybe so are some of the drawbacks still within the health sector where we have not really been able to get that sort of group solidarity in some sense, in which everybody is speaking with one voice. I mean, which ordinarily, if that was the circumstances, you have maybe forced the government to do even way much more than this situation of piecemeal. This one goes on strike, then comes back, the other one goes on strike. But to answer your question very clearly, when nurses were on strike, doctors were not on strike, pharmacists were not on strike. It was a strike action that was declared by the National Association of Nigerian Nurses and Midwives, and that was the situation.
All right, thank you so much. We have to take a short break now. When we come back, we'll open up this conversation even more. So please stay with us, and our audience as well. We'll be right back shortly.
Life is made up of moments, some that fill us with joy, others that test our strength. Welcome to Heartlines. This is our space to explore the highs and lows of human connection, the love, the heartbreak, and resilience that shapes our life. From relationships to friendships, parenting to partnerships, and so much more. Every week, we share stories and conversations that define us, navigating love, separations, the struggles of parenting, dealing with anxiety and managing the pressures and stress of life. Real conversations that bring us closer, helping us heal, grow, and connect. So join me Mondays through Fridays at 10 p.m. for Heartlines, the show where we connect hearts, have real conversations with real people, one story at a time.
All right, welcome back, our dearest viewers. We've been joined by Olorun Toba to discuss the recent strike action from the Association of Nurses in Nigeria. Although the strike has been called off, there's been some fear about victimization, and he has helped us to unpack that phrase, victimization. Let's not see that there's solidarity and it's not something that you're really concerned about. But in our earliest conversation, I want to confirm firstly that Olorun Toba is still with us. All right, he's still here. Okay, in our earliest conversation, we spoke about, or you mentioned that the government authorities would be continuing the conversation later on this week. Just like many strike actions that have conversations that are never ending. And I want to really understand, what was exactly the response from the government to this particular strike action? Was there any concrete thing that happened for it to be called off firstly? Or was it called off because, you know, it's essential care and they wanted to really get back to their duties whilst they're still under the, what's it called, behind the scenes, still try to get these reactions that they need? Or there was nothing that was done at all? I want to really understand what you meant by the conversation is still continuing. Was there any concrete thing that was agreed on before the strike was called off?
Yes, thank you very much for that. So I think the issue is that for strike actions, the purpose of strike actions is to call attention of government and to get them to the table. And once we started discussion and an MOU signed, actually, it wasn't just discussion, an MOU was signed with a time frame for implementation. Because we are asking for certain things, we also understand that there are bureaucratic processes that needs to go on. So you cannot then, say that those processes must, happen immediately within. And again, it was one strike. It wasn't an indefinite strike action. So, and that's why we are also sensitive to the plight of Nigerians. Like I said, when we call strike action, it is to get the government they needed a bit of other consultation with other federal government agencies to be able to know exactly what they will be putting to the table issue, and that's what exactly happened. So in terms of conversation that's going on, it's that those certain areas that were not they have not been able to give us a concrete response to them. Conversations have to continue, and that's why a meeting is up for within the week to further discuss the memorandum of understanding and to ensure that those things are also implemented to the timeline. I mean, within timeline, like they promised that those things will be done. So, and that's the nature of industrial action. After have such strike action and industrial action, you still definitely have to come to the table to discuss the issues and find solutions to them.
All right.
Okay, so I want to ask, since you have come into an agreement in the meantime, are there any agreed timelines, like a time structure or a time frame given to the government to put in place what the nurses are requesting? And is there a body, or how are you people going to track exactly if the government are going to put those things you people have asked for in implementation?
Yeah, there are timelines built into the MOU. Some they promise to do within 4 weeks. For example, the discussion around some of the allowances and things like that, it's within 2 weeks, and that's why the meeting is happening immediately. And for our members, they're very conscious, they're very sensitive, and they're following this with very keen interest. In fact, if you see on social media, you already see flyers about countdown to those timelines. This is day 1 of the 4 weeks. This is day 2. So people are also counting with us and with the government that they are promised that this thing will happen within 4 weeks. So that everybody is kept on their toes. So when we sign such agreement, it is with clear timelines so that we know exactly when they themselves have defaulted and also meeting up with the agreement again.
So what's the second option? If the government failed to fulfill the nurses' interest within the 4 weeks given, would there be a room for more time for them to implement what people are requesting, or the association will finally go for an indefinite strike?
And well, that will be within the purview of the decision-making organs of the association to assess what the situation is, what we have gotten, and to determine the next line of action. When we have our National Executive Council meeting, we discuss whatever the progress has been made, and the association will decide if there's a need for any other industrial activity to still be within our purview and within our rights as workers and as a union to use acceptable industrial actions to press our demands. So, but we will definitely reassess it at that level. The leadership will assess it, and then we'll see if there's any need for any further intervention. But we hope that the federal government does its own bit and avoids the needless suffering of Nigerians. I would say that this strike action really showed the government the structural power that nurses have within that in the health sector, and I don't think they want to see a repeat of that situation. Because with those few days, healthcare in this country was essentially grounded to an halt. So I don't think government can afford to have that happen again. So I would think that the lessons have been learned by the government.
All right, thank you so much. So on social media as well, I mean, some critics, they've argued that these strikes in the health sector put lives at risk. And I want you to respond to those concerns. And let's even look at how Nigeria can strike a balance between labor rights and essential services like healthcare.
Yeah, it's normal for people to have that opinion. I mean, they might look at the situation from their own personal experience of what is happening. You have a loved one that you now have to find a private hospital and things like that. But for us as a union, as nurses, we also look at it from the bigger picture. You see, if we continue and we do not take these actions, the healthcare system is threatening towards collapse. Because if you are struggling to keep retention at a reasonable percentage, what it also means that you're losing vital knowledge. Imagine a situation where your what do you call it? Because it's one thing for you to even recruit people into the system. If they do not stay long enough to build certain skill set, certain levels, stay enough to be able to grab on to institutional memory and practices. What it means is that you're just going to see people coming and go out, coming and go out, and eventually the quality of healthcare that you can deliver within that system would be abysmally low. It's like saying that you only have you are recruiting, but you only have junior nurses populating the whole system, because as people rise up within the world, they get frustrated and leave. So you have a middle level manpower gap, serious one. That means that you cannot respond to health, you cannot give care at the optimum level. So for us, we are looking at it from the bigger picture that if we do not take this step now, more people are even going to suffer. As we have not taken the step, more people are dying every day as a result of shortage of staff and things like that. So we don't, of course, we don't look at it from the point of view of just one patient. We're looking at it, and I think that's what I would ask the gents to also view those situations as that. When you do not take necessary steps to correct these things and to have a long-term impact on the sector, we might continue to manage, but the system might eventually collapse if nothing, if no intervention is taken. I mean, we saw some people trying to do certain things on social media. I think it's just because of their limited perspective and understanding of what we're really grappling with. We don't want to see a situation where this healthcare system collapses, or if it's brought under pressure like it happened during COVID. And that's when everybody will understand the implication of all these years of mass exodus and high attrition that we're seeing and poor pay within a poor investment within the health sector. So we're doing this to ensure that Nigerians can have access to quality healthcare. They can have what the professionals who have served in those areas and build competent skills that they can use to intervene when the need arises. So, and that's our own view of the situation. People should understand that when we go on this kind of action, it's not just for our own remuneration or for our own self-interest, but it's also for the collective interest of the citizen. Many people, any of us, cannot afford healthcare in the private sector, or where they can even go to the private sector. The level of regulation within the system is still very disturbingly low. So the public health system is where you can even guarantee that you are being attended to by an actual nurse. We understand how quackery has taken over the whole place, and people are profiting from all these situations. People who are not even nurses, masquerade as one within private health institutions, and people are dying as a result of those situations. So the public health system, where at least you can guarantee that you are being treated by professionals, we must guide it to all jealousy, so that we must understand that what the association and what nurses are doing is to essentially protect the healthcare system from collapse. Like I said, the elite who are making decisions don't even really use these systems. So maybe they don't care so much. But for the ordinary Nigerian, where can they turn to? What other options are available to them? So I mean, with the economic situation in the country. So when we are doing this to ensure that we can keep people back home, and because I mean, look at the earning differential. It shows people abroad, someone starting what in the UK will easily earn someone's annual salary in a month. So the and that's why I mentioned that the pull factor is very, very strong. Yeah, in a better healthcare system, you have all the facilities to do the work you need to do, and all the likes. But people who are staying back here, having to grapple with issues of electricity, with all sort of things, archaic instruments and all that, and you still want to add economic burden and what on that situation, people would naturally take the choice to leave. So if we do not do this to get things going, we are going to have bigger problems on our hands.
All right. We have a comment here. Apologies for the interruption from Okweagbe Okweyemi. He says, "Good morning and wonderful discussion on the strike action by Nigerian nurses. In the case where some Nigerian nurses do not follow the action, what is the response of the union to such members?" There's a follow-up there. He said there was the case on social media of a nurse who didn't follow the strike action. What's the position of the union on such a person? Would you like to address this, please?
Yeah, because every union has its own disciplinary measures and things like that. If you do not want to follow the union directive, simply you just want to opt out of the union. But if you're going to stay within the union will take actions to ensure that they put everybody in line. The union is not run as an individual. We take, and that's why you see that each time you ask, I also refer back to organs. It's democratically run. It's a situation where it is collective opinion of the majority that carries the day. So it's not just one individual that wakes up and decides to call a strike action. It's organs that have been voted by nurses and opinions are sampled. So if anybody goes against such directive, we have our own internal mechanism of putting such people back in line. Because you know of some unions who, because we are fighting for something to benefit the sector, it means we are becoming an enemy of the profession and even an enemy of Nigerians. That's what it means, and we will take actions within the purview of our own disciplinary measures to ensure that those people get in line.
All right.
Okay, so this comes to my other question. Just I would like you to answer within 3 minutes concerning the adjustment uniform allowances. Right, what is the positive effect of the nurses having a separate salary structure? Of what good it is to the nurses?
No, I wouldn't. I had the uniform allowance that I want to try to understand your connection between the uniform allowance and the
Okay,
salary
like
structure.
one of the demands of the nurses for this course of the action was to have a uniform allowance, to have an upward review of shift allowance, and the third one is to have a separate salary structure. So I'm asking now in the third part, what is the importance to the nurses, the essence of the separate salary structure?
Oh, okay, thank you. Yeah, of course, the uniform allowance is a bit clear what why that demand is essential. We have to put on uniforms to carry out. It's a functional way, and you don't expect that people work and have to use their own salaries to pay for part of the things they need to carry out that responsibility. So that should be, and the reason is that it's been over 2 decades that uniform allowance has remained static. I've been looking at the inflationary rate and everything. You know that definitely it wouldn't be commensurate. So, and I think for the in terms of salary structure and pay increase that we're asking for, it is to be able to cater for this peculiar situation within the nursing profession. Given, like I said, that it is now an international situation in terms of global demand, and there's a global shortage of nurses, over 6.1 million. So, and what will happen in basic economics, demand and supply, is that those who can pay more, labor will move in that direction, because it's everywhere. In any profession, labor will always move in the direction of capital. So, and in that situation, you see that the Western world can pay way higher than what our government can offer. So, what you can do, even within the Western world, they are competing among themselves. You want to bring nurses in, they're talking about sign-up bonuses, this housing, all sort of incentives to ensure that they can get, because I think what you see there is that those countries prioritize the health of their citizens, and at all costs they want people who can care for their own people. So that in our situation, if you are now offering something abysmally poor, you are already shooting yourself in the leg. So, and if that the general salary structure cannot account and take into cognizance this peculiarity of the nursing sector, there may be a need. That's why we see that there is need to create a structure that can capture this peculiarity and interest. You see things like retention allowance to ensure that we can also have a bit of fighting chance to keep our nurses and nurses within the country. And so that's why it's essential that this is looked at. That you can't use the situation within the nursing profession. It's different from the situation within other sectors where maybe you don't have that serious demand, international demand pool on such professionals. So, but in a situation where you have core, and like I said, we are usually sometimes up to 60% of the health professionals within the healthcare sector are nurses. So if the most critical component of the health, whatever, is having that huge international pull and demand, then you must find something to push in effect and at least reduce the push factors and even begin to make dents into the pull factors of this so that we can get them to stay in the country. So, and that's the reason why we're asking that the separate salary structure would be necessary, and separate set of allowances actually
right.
for nurses to be able to keep nurses.
All right, thank you so much for your insightful contribution to our discussion today. And as the strike ends and our nurses return to work, let's remember this, our viewers, that they didn't walk out because they wanted to. They walked out because they were worn out. And now as whispers of victimizations grow louder, we have to ask, what kind of system fights its healers for speaking up? Healthcare is not just about medicine, it's about people. And people need dignity, safety, and justice to serve others well. Thanks for joining me this morning on Raised Breakfast. I'm Oluchi Omenka, joined by Goodness Ideha, and we'll see you again tomorrow with another insightful conversation. Have a great Monday.